Hey, Skullbells TV, we are getting real with the Carnivore Contest Prep meal prepping here today. So we will be smoking pork chops and topping it off with a nutrient-packed keto gravy, which will improve your recovery. It will keep your skin and your muscles strong and healthy, and it will definitely keep your meal prep game simple and innovative so you can fuel your life inside and beyond the gym. Oh, wait, that's our podcast tagline. My bad. All right, YouTube, let's get into the meat. So your ingredients, you're going to need some raw bone-in pork chops. We get ours here locally. You're going to need some home rendered beef tallow. So on rendering your own beef tallow, listen to session number 48 of our nutrition podcast, Carnivore Coaches Corner. On session number 48, it's called Ethical Cattle Farming Tallow Recipes and Questions to Ask Your Beef Supplier with Melissa Oswald from Oswald Farms. We will be using this to make gravy for two reasons. Number one, in my opinion, I just think it's a match made in heaven. I love the flavor and the texture combination. If you nail the gravy recipe too, it will complement the pork chops perfectly and it won't overpower their flavor. And then number two is because of choline. We're combining two very nutrient-dense foods today. And since choline is at the top of the list, this is what your body is going to benefit from the most. And so we're going to be talking about this in a little bit too. But use this instead of applesauce or mashed potatoes, right? We're trying to keep those carbs to a minimum. More on this later. Sea salts. You're going to see me alternating between my two favorites at the moment. First one is, of course, pink potassium cave salt. Almost as much potassium as there is sodium in this stuff. It's from Spain. I use a little less with pork because pork actually has more more potassium, fun fact, than beef, which is what I normally eat. So second salt is Baja Gold Natural Grain Mineral Sea Salt. It's loaded with potassium as well as magnesium mainly, and then other trace minerals as well. So between these two, all of my electrolyte requirements are met, so I don't ever have to supplement any potassium or any magnesium ever for athletic performance. Both salts are in stock, and you can pick them up on our website, supersetyourlife.com. I see all the orders come in, and I ship them out myself personally. Every dollar that goes through there helps support this channel. Thank you very much for your support, everybody. All right, so the pork chop instructions. We're going to just use salt. Salt to taste with natural sea salts. Seasonings definitely aren't necessary here, but you can add them if you want. I don't usually use seasonings. Actually, I never do, or rubs, but we were expecting company last night, though, and so we had a change of plans, and I definitely wasn't going to let my Italian wife's garlic and onion rub that we were going to use go and use for that. So the goal of any seasoning or salt should always be to bring the flavor out of the meat and not to overpower it. Not only does it help me to actually enjoy my food more, but when you're cutting, I've found this to improve my mindfulness when eating, so that I can feel when I'm on track with my prep and how the food's affecting my body. Hope that makes sense. So step number 2 is we're going to preheat the smoker to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We use our GMG pellet grill, been using it for years. Our favorite things to smoke on it are pork chops, tri-tip, brisket, chicken thighs, and best of all, pork belly, probably. In my experience, pork behaves better on the smoker. The fats and the moisture stays trapped inside better than beef patties and steaks for some reason. Pork is always tender and juicy when we smoke it compared to beef. So step number 3 is we're going to smoke these bad boys for about 20 to 30 minutes. Taylor's dad, my father-in-law, taught me how to feel when the inside of the pork is cooked all the way through so that it's safe to eat. But if you're ever worried, just use a thermometer and make sure that they reach 155 degrees Fahrenheit and 68 degrees Celsius. And then a pro tip, if you got extra space on the smoker, don't let those pellets go to waste. So I made up a batch of burgers to smoke alongside it when I was doing this prep. Optional food weighing tips, okay? If you're on contest prep or if you're cutting for a wedding or anything that requires you to cut out food for maximum accuracy, the bones definitely throw things off. So the most accurate way to track your protein and fat numbers here is to remove the meat from the bones and weigh only the meat, but I'm not going to do that for 2 reasons. Because number 1, let's get real. Eating the meat off the bones is like the best part, right? Like that's where most of the fat's at. So I can be 10 to 15% off of my macros right now as long as I'm confident that everything else is accurate. As long as I'm losing an average of a pound a week, I don't need to get overly meticulous, and that'll be the pace that I need to keep up to see veins in my abs and glutes in August this year to guest pose at the Open Natural again. So until then, it's just not worth splitting hairs to be 100% perfect. I round up like 20 to 25% when I'm weighing cooked pork chops because of the bones still in them, and I call it close enough for jazz. So as far as the gravy goes, we're going to get into the gravy here in a second, but if I ever make a too small of a batch on accident, then I'll just supplement with butter until I meet my dietary fat requirements for the day. And then last thing, step number 5 is make sure that you save all of your bones. Never, ever, ever throw them away because you can totally use and save those for homemade bone broth. Check out our bone broth videos for more on how to do that at home. All right, and then so for the keto gravy, here's how we do it. This will be the easiest thing you have ever done, all right? In fact, it's so easy that you don't even need to write out any step-by-step instructions for it. All you have to do is save your fat drippings from any and all beef that you're cooking. We all eat the same in this house, including our dog, and so ground beef is definitely a versatile staple here. So tallow is never short in supply. Nothing goes to waste. We eat a lot of animals, so that's how we show them respect, right? Whenever I make it too, this gravy, personally, whenever I make it, I pull out how much I'm going to be using, and so then I'll pull it out from the refrigerator. I'm going to reheat half of that tallow, and then once it's hot, I quickly hand blend it in with the other half while it's still cold from the refrigerator. I throw in all the sea salts that I'm going to be using right then I blend the heck out of it, and then I immediately pour it on top of my pork chops or whatever meat that I'm making. So here again, I taught how to make this gravy and different ways to use it a couple of times on our podcast, so you can check those out for more. Session number 48 of our Carnivore Coaches Corner Nutrition podcast. That was with Melissa Oswalt. And then episode 232, chaffles, barbecue pork belly, smoked brisket, and chicken wings, and more with Rusty Lamb. We talked a lot about different things that you can do with the smoker on that one. That was a good talk. Topics like this are always in the show notes too of the podcast, and so you should be able to find that no problem. I do that so you can locate them really quickly if you're looking for like a specific recipe or something. Okay, so butter versus gravy. Butter and pork chops, match made in heaven too. I mean, as far as dining experience goes. However, the gravy, I think, it's a staple for my contest prep and a lot of our athletes that are training on meat-based diets because of its high choline content. That's like the biggest nutrient that I'm after right here. So choline is essential. It is impossible to obtain what you need from a plant-based diet for this nutrient, okay? There's no way that you can get it. It helps your body break down fat, so that means it's good for your metabolism. It's anti-inflammatory. It's required for normal, everyday bodily functions. It might, nobody really knows, but it might boost memory function, and it could help with anxiety. That's why a lot of people go so far as to supplement this, and I can't find any science that backs that up, but it makes sense to me. I wouldn't be surprised. So this combo is definitely something that you should try if you think that you might be deficient in choline too. Symptoms of that are low energy levels and fatigue, memory loss, cognitive decline, learning disabilities, muscle aches, nerve damage, mood swings. You're at the highest risk if you're an endurance athlete, an alcohol user, a postmenopausal female, or a pregnant lady. Best sources of choline are organ meats, especially liver, eggs, and of course, at the top of the list, beef and pork. So pork contains about 10% more choline too, as a matter of fact, than red meats, such as beef and lamb. All right. Hope that all made sense. Comment below your questions and thoughts. Share it with a friend if you found this helpful. We'll catch you again really, really soon here on Skull Bells TV.